Alrighty, this is kind of like a follow-up video to the first one I did. I've had this for quite a few days now and have been using it and have been learning a lot about it, as well as learning what my expectations for this should be. If you saw my first video, I'm pretty much coming across as somebody with very little experience with these things, and when I say that my expectations might have been a little bit too high, I think they were, especially when it came to the solar panel and its efficiency and all that stuff. But I was kind of like gung-ho thinking, yeah, I'll get this thing charged up and I'll run my fridge, I'll run my ice maker, coffee machine, smoothie maker, you know, separately, not all together, understanding that, you know, it's all consuming power, but you know that this is a big old battery bank and it will last quite some time. It did work really good. It really did. But at the same time, I really kind of had to dial it back. In a nutshell, I did so far just two tests. And the first one, I started on the 5th and at 8 p.m. at night, 100% battery charge, and I ran my refrigerator. I've got notes, all kinds of notes. Refrigerator and ice maker overnight. And when I woke up the next day on the 6th, at 5:07 a.m., the battery charge was down to 58%, which I thought was a little much. But then, you know, I ran a ice maker and refrigerator nonstop all night, and yeah, so it got down to 58%. I unplugged everything. Used my coffee machine, my smoothie maker for breakfast, to which that consumed some wattage as well, but you know, short-term usage. Then basically off to work a little bit before 7 o'clock, hooked up the solar. At that point, I left the house for work and the battery was at 51%. So at this point, I got the solar cable hooked up. It's kind of like what you got here. Just my refrigerator, solar cable hooked up, off to work, 51% battery. At 9:58 a.m., again, this is the next day after the start on the 6th, the battery had worn itself down to 42%. And I noticed that according to the app, a lot of these notes I was getting off the app, and I'll talk about that here also. But yeah, you know, I was getting 0 watts input from the solar panel, and I'm like, well, what the heck is going on? And I wrote a note down here. I guess I had stopped back by the house that the solar panel was not in direct sunlight. I quickly learned about the solar panel that they're very finicky. Oh my God, they're finicky. I was thinking, as long as it's gathering daylight, it ought to be trickling in, you know, some amount of wattage. I wasn't expecting it to keep it fully charged. I just really, you know, was expecting it to extend the battery life. But what I was not prepared for was that it needs to be gathering enough light and to start producing enough voltage before it can even convert that to rechargeable watts. I'm starting to learn a lot here, which is cool, because it definitely helped me out on the second test I did. But yeah, so at 1:34 p.m. on the 6th, the day after the start, the battery's down to now 33% battery. My refrigerator is just, I wasn't cycling it on or off or anything like that. And it was using more power than the solar panel was delivering. At this point, the solar panel kicked on and started delivering watts about 11:30 a.m. and the watts were small. I'm talking like less than 50, but quickly started getting in, started increasing. And at 1:34 p.m., I was getting 151 watts input. Keeping in mind that my refrigerator, when it runs, when it starts up at about 150 watts, and then it settles down to less than 120 watts, and will stay there until it's cooled off enough and then turns itself off. So with that running and the solar panel not producing like I thought it was going to, I wasn't getting back the battery gain. Although 10 minutes later at 1:45 p.m. the battery did charge up to 34%, so I did gain some, and the solar watts were at 140. So the day I did this, it was a sunny day, but it was also one of those hazy sunny days. Apparently there's a forest fire, I don't know, like 100 or so miles from here. So there was a slight haze throughout the day, and some on and off clouds. Otherwise it was a sunny day, but just not a perfect sunny day. So yeah, a small little cloud would pass over and instantly knock your wattage down off that solar panel. At around 2:45, as it gets close to 3 o'clock, I really start losing my sunlight, and the wattage quickly stopped. It would drop really quick. I mean, I was below 100 watts. Keeping in mind my refrigerator is still running as normal. I didn't cycle it on or off or anything like that. So by the time I got home from work at 6:30, the battery charge was down to 18%. And I wrote a note here, the solar panel was very little help. And again, it's because of my lack of knowledge on how these solar panels work. And I don't think it's just Pecron's brand of solar panel. I think this is probably an issue with any portable little solar panel. They're just very sensitive, and they got to be placed perfectly to maximize their potential. So not wanting the test to end so quickly the next day, keep in mind that I started this test at 8 p.m. on the 5th. It's now the 6th. So I've gone just about 24 hours, and I'm still holding on to less than 20% battery life. But I took it out to my truck because I'm thinking, all right, it's battle conditions. There's no way that this would survive overnight. I'll kill it overnight. So I wanted to hook it up to my truck, the cigarette lighter, and see what kind of charge I get there, and that's very little help also. Again, with the truck running, I was getting 90 watts fed back into it, and at 18% battery charge, it was going to take a long time. And also too, during that time, my refrigerator is now no longer running, so it's now slowly getting warm. One thing I do want to show you, since the first video I didn't. This is what comes in the box, except for this. This is just a voltage meter, because I had such problems and I didn't quite understand solar panels. I had this and saw a video where you can test your the voltages on a solar panel. It turns out my solar panel's fine. I just didn't know how to use it, nor was I using it properly, and my expectations were a little high. But what they send with the kit, you know, you get the owner's manual and everything. This is a 30 amp plug that they sent with it. They did this as a pre-order, and my understanding is that's good for like if you're at a campsite and they have power hookup, you can hook this up and charge this thing up probably very quick. The 15 amp one is what I use for the house, and this thing, if you plug it in the wrong plug, it will trip a circuit breaker. So I had to find a plug that would handle it, but it delivers over 1600 watts when it's plugged in, so it charges up really quick. And just another solar cable, and again the car charger, you know, with the 12 volt plug. But nice little kit, you know, came with everything, and I just keep my voltage meter in with it, because I'm really not using my voltage meter a lot, but now that I have this thing, I probably will be using it more. So anyways, yeah, first test didn't go very well. I pretty much killed the battery, didn't have the solar panel in the ideal spot, and I'll show you what I'm talking about here. Step outside. I live in a townhome, so where I can place this panel is extremely limited, but there's my window of opportunity. You can see I'm surrounded by trees. There is a 4-hour window of direct sunlight that hits the front of my house. The sun passes, it comes from this direction, it appears, sunlight, 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 then starts to disappear behind these trees. And you can see, you know, just how much shade it is. It's a little after 5 o'clock now, and I'm completely in shade. So originally I had the solar panel here, to which I was getting a lot of shade from that bush and that bush, and this tree and that tree. So the solar panel really wasn't working all that well. And I could move it out here a little bit, and it did a little bit better. But for the second test, I took the panel and I hung it from my second story window, because up there I get the most sunlight, but it's away from these bushes, and I get the best exposure there. So when that 4-hour window of solar charging hits, because this is it, that clear spot right here, when the sun comes through, boom, solar charge, solar charge, solar charge, solar charge. That's about 2:30, and I'm done. So at about 11:30, the sun's starting to peek behind these trees, and it starts. Although it doesn't start very quickly, because these solar panels work best when they are angled directly at the sun. They do start to get some charge, but until that sun lines itself up directly in front, yeah, I'm not maximizing my solar potential. And like most people, I have to work, so I can't sit here and maneuver that solar panel chasing the sun for 4 hours. So I put it in that spot, optimize, you know, I figure that's the best spot. That's really the only spot other than sticking it out in the parking lot. But that spot worked well. So in a nutshell, yeah, after that first test, I wrote down a couple more notes. The unit runs well. I think it's doing exactly what it's trying to do, and that's deliver power. My problem is managing the power so that, you know, I don't use it all up too quickly. Because, again, my goal with buying this is for emergency power outages and keeping that fridge alive. Oh, by the way, Most valuable rider, team cutters. Got that the other day. Cutters. Anyways, that's for those of you watching this. My channel is primarily based around mountain biking. Anyways, where was I at? So yeah, so just managing the solar panel will help the most. And yeah, ultimately, I got this thing for power outages to keep the refrigerator running, because especially these days, letting food go bad, man, that would be just so expensive. So, I mean, even today, it's not running now, and everything's nice and cold. I checked everything in my freezer, still frozen. It's all good. What else do I got here? All right, yeah. Now for the second test, I did just the refrigerator only. I didn't plug in the ice maker. I didn't make any coffee with it. I didn't run my smoothie. I was just like, it's battle conditions, power's out. I don't know how long it's going to be out. I don't need my smoothie maker to consume my fruits and vegetables. I can just eat them, so no need to waste power there. The coffee machine, I probably would find a way to make some cold coffee, or do without, or I'd plug it in and make a quick cup. But I just really wanted to test how long can I just get this refrigerator to last. And you can see with the different position of the solar panel, I think that helped out quite a bit. But anyways, I started this test at almost 1 o'clock this past Sunday on the 8th, 12:50 p.m. Battery is at 100%. Yeah, the fridge is idle, so I had it plugged in, but it wasn't drawing any power. It was already in a cool state. And when the fridge is running, it runs anywhere from 118 to 140 watts, 140 watts being at the startup. Got some side notes here. 2:16 p.m. bright sun, plugged in the solar panel. So I hadn't even had the solar panel plugged in yet, but instantly I was getting like 152 watts, because between like 1:30 and 2:30, that's when that gap is peaked out. And also too, at this point I hadn't had the panel hung yet. I still had it out, but I was angling it better because I was at home and I was able to chase the sun a little bit. It was on a Sunday. And I'm still waiting on a 16-foot cord, which will allow more flexibility and allow me to place it, you know, on the ground at different locations. Let's see. Yeah, at that time, the fridge decided to turn on. It was running at about 120 watts out. The solar panel was producing 150 watts. So I was on a slight gain of battery recharge, even though the refrigerator was running. That's what I was looking for. Just the fridge is running, but it's not killing the battery. The battery's actually gaining small amount of charge, or it's breaking even. The app, this thing comes with an app, and the app is really cool in that you can monitor what all is going on without being at home. So like when I'm out working, if I wanted to see what was going on with the unit and the solar and my refrigerator, I could pull up the app and I could tell if the refrigerator was running or not. I can see what kind of watts were coming in off the solar. And the neatest feature of the app was the ability to turn off the AC output. So if my solar panels are kicking like 150 watts in, but my refrigerator is not drawing anything, it's sitting there idle, just go ahead and turn the AC off and maximize the wattage coming in from the solar panels. Anyways, it worked really good. Although today, it wouldn't function at all. The app would only come on when I was at home connected to Wi-Fi. I don't know what the difference is, but anyways, they got some issues with the app. So yeah, let's see. Yeah, app function to turn on or off, out wattage works. This is me simply testing everything. I just started using the app. It works turning off out wattage when solar is generating, increases recharge rate. Solar panels are very sensitive to any amount of shadow on the panel, and that is absolutely true. That thing can be in direct sunlight, and if there's just like the slightest bit of shadow on a corner of the panel, it will drop that wattage. It's amazing how sensitive these panels are to shadow. It seems to be they're more sensitive to shadows than they are just daylight. Anyways, solar panels are very sensitive to any amount of shadow on the panel. Turning off the AC output using the app. Put the Wi-Fi, oh yeah, it also puts the unit itself in a Wi-Fi standby. Okay, so anyways, I let it run again. I started this test on the 8th at 12:50 p.m. I just kind of let it go, went about my business, and that night at 11:08 p.m. the battery was down to 74% battery. Of course, you know, I'm not getting any charge. I mean, it's daylight now, and 0 watt input. It recognizes it, you know, but I'm not even getting any voltage. So it really does have to be like in direct sunlight. The panel does, in order for this thing to generate any wattage. All right, so the next day, whoops. Let me get my notes together right. All right, yeah. The next day on the 9th, again, I'm up at 5:30 a.m. The battery is now at 55%. Solar panel connected and hung up from the bedroom window. So I kind of came up with that idea that morning and hung it up there instead of setting it outside on the ground. 8:56 a.m. the solar panel, in my terms, waking up with 36.5 volts. Not strong enough yet, I guess, to run the converter, the built-in converter, so it wasn't producing recharge watts. It's, again, not in direct sunlight, but bright enough to show the voltage. In other words, kind of like what it is now. It's daylight, and it's starting to collect voltage, but without it being in direct sunlight, it's just not strong enough to produce the recharge watts. At this point, the battery's at 46%. At 11:30 a.m., the solar kicked in, giving me 35 watts. The battery was down to 38%. The moment I saw I was getting watts in from the solar panel, even though it was only 35%, I went ahead with the app, the use of the app. And keep in mind, I'm out working, so I'm not at home doing this. I turned the AC output off, so that way nothing would run on it. Of course, I've made sure that the refrigerator was also not trying to draw power at that time. I did let it get to a cool state where it's idling, not drawing power. I then turned the AC, the plug, all these are AC plugins right here, the AC output. Turned all that off, so that way the fridge will not turn on, because I figured the fridge is in a cool state, it's probably good for a few hours. I'm not at home. No one's at home to open up the door and let all the cold air out. It's basically just going to sit there and just hold on to that coolness. So I turned it off at 38% battery. An hour later, 12:30 p.m., my watts from the solar panel increased to 130 watts in. No output because I turned that off, and my battery is now at 41%. So I'm gaining charge back. And at 1:07 p.m., the watts, basically it's the sun moving across in between the trees out here. So as the sun's moving across, the solar panel's getting more in line with it, and it's increasing my my wattage. So 1:07 p.m. I was at 135 watts. The battery increased to 44%. So on and so on. Never quite got out of the 130 range, and that's because of some passing clouds. And again, it was kind of a hazy, sunny day, so it wasn't like crystal clear sunlight. Again, solar panels are very sensitive and nitpicky. At 2:22, my watts in from the solar panel is dropped to 106, and that's just because the position of the sun is off at an angle now, and I'm not at home to change the angle of my solar panel. And it's also starting to drop behind some of the taller trees here. But my battery is still charging, and it's up to 48%. So I'm almost at 50% charge. 2:45, just 20 minutes later, I looked at it again. And I'm doing all this by looking at it through the app. I'm not at home. The app was giving me all this information. The watts are starting to drop. So I'm at 103 watts, but my battery charge is now up to 50%. Which was really cool. I was really happy to see that I started the day at 38%, and with what little bit of sunlight I had and just a better position of the solar panel, I was able to charge it back up to 50%. And at 3:12, my watts in is now down to 40. So that pretty much completes my potential solar time from 11:30 to about 3:30 is what I got. But at 3:12, my watts in were at 40. My battery had charged up to 51% at that point. And I was like, all right, I'm not really gaining anything. Let's just go ahead and turn the AC power back on. So I turned that back on. Which pretty much then now my refrigerator, has warmed up a little bit, but the refrigerator turned on and started going through its cycle again. Let's see. Yeah, the end of the day, 7:38 p.m. The battery had dropped down to 35%. So, yeah, by keeping the refrigerator off, the refrigerator was off for about 4 hours. Yeah, 11, 12, 1, 2, 3. Yeah, for about 4 hours, the refrigerator didn't cycle. So there's probably a couple cooling cycles that didn't take place. So refrigerator had to run just a little bit more. But at 7:38, my battery's into 35%. Looking at the test from the day before, I should wake up in the morning with 10 to 15% battery left. And that's leaving the refrigerator on all night just to do what it's going to do. That's not cycling it on or off. I also have the system here set to shut down or turn off any output at 5% battery charge. And you can see that's what I got going on here. Hold on, let me brighten the screen a little bit. Oh yeah, a little touchpad. It's pretty cool. But yeah, but you can see that it's set to. Whoops, dang it. Sorry. Oh no, what did I do? I did something. Oh, switch button. Okay, yeah, it's at 5%, and you can see there's no output on the AC. So, and I tested that too. I opened up my refrigerator door, let it warmed up, and with it plugged in, it didn't turn anything on. So that function works, and the reason why I like that function, because I really don't want to drain these batteries down to zero. That could possibly cause damage, and you can set that parameter. This thing's got like all kinds of settings to it. You can check the battery health. That's all the batteries. There's like 12 batteries in this thing, and you can see it's an excellent, even though it's drained, it's showing excellent. And all the individual voltages, you know, they're all pretty close. They're all working together. There's not a battery that's like unusually high or unusually low. But anyways, the touch screen is pretty cool. It's very informative, and this tells you how long till a charge takes place. But since there's nothing happening, you get just like a default number there. But you can see the solar panel, it still recognizes that there's a solar panel hooked up here, and it's just waiting for the sun to come out so it can start charging. Anyways, so that got me through on the 9th. Today is the 10th. I woke up 5:07 a.m. I knew this was going to be the final day of testing, because there's no way that solar panel in that 4-hour little window of sunlight is going to charge this up to go another day. So I woke up to 7% battery. The auto turn off is set to 5%. Yeah. So at 5:22 a.m. this morning, the battery dropped to 6%. Fridge is in idle or in cold state. I use the app to turn the AC off, because at this point the refrigerator's in a cool state. It doesn't need to run, and so right now I'm just really trying to extend this. How long can I keep the fridge cool to keep the food from spoiling? So I use the app to turn that off. Solar panel starts charging at about 11:30. So like clockwork, like the day before, you know, the sun peaked around, started peeking around the trees, started feeding the solar panel. And by 1:17 today, it went from a 6% charge to a 12% charge. And I have had the AC turned off the whole time. I'm letting my fridge just stay turned off for two reasons. One is I figured the food and everything's going to be okay. You know, I've been through a power outage that's been all day without any kind of backup, and the food doesn't spoil. You know, or at least my refrigerator holds on to the cold pretty well, so it can go a good amount of time. But another reason why I didn't or why I kept the power turned off is because the app wasn't working. This unit was only online when I was at home, so for some reason today it wasn't working. I couldn't look at anything. I couldn't turn this on or off. I had no control, so it basically stayed off. But it was charging, and it was doing what it was told to do, which is stay off and collect battery charge. Yeah, so I came home on my lunch break around 1:17, battery's at 12%. I went ahead and turned it on so my refrigerator can start running. At that point, my solar in was 148 watts. my fridge turned on. It's now burning 133 watts. Yeah, as the day progressed, you know, I was losing solar, and my fridge is now on, and because the app wasn't working, I was unable to cycle it off. So the fridge is now just back to draining the battery. Got home about 5 o'clock. The battery was down to 5% with 0% output, so it turned itself off to prevent the battery from draining below 5%, potentially down to 0, potentially causing harm to the battery. The fridge was turned off for a total of 8 hours, but even though 8 hours, everything that was in my freezer was still frozen. Everything that was in my refrigerator still felt cool, so I probably could have, yeah, I could probably keep it off much longer, which means I can cycle it on and off more, or keep the refrigerator off more, extending this. So I know this video is getting long of me just talking and reading notes. In a nutshell, yeah, the test 2 got me Sunday, Tuesday, about 2.5 days of running the refrigerator only, which is pretty good. Like I said, having the ability, if the app would work, Pecron, get your app to work, because I could extend this, you know, for the purpose of preserving the food in the refrigerator. I probably could have extended this out maybe another day. I don't know. Of course, all of it's dependent too on the sunlight. If it had been raining these last 2 days, I would have been screwed. You know, I still probably could have kept the refrigerator going for maybe a good day and a half. But that's another test for another day. But just wanted to go ahead and do this and just let you know how I feel about it. I'm still learning it. Definitely need a plan B, because ultimately I would like to be able to have this power my refrigerator for a whole week, because all it takes is one bad hurricane to knock down all these trees, and I've been through it. Hurricane Fran, a few years ago, you know, quite a few years ago, I was without power for a week, and it sucked. You know, I had no food at the house. I'm not going to get into it. It sucked. You live without power for a week, and you hate it. You start thinking about things like this. But yeah, so a second solar panel, you know, I've got a 4-hour window of daylight. Maybe I can double my input wattage by getting another solar panel. I know that they also sell a 12 amp charger for the car, even though it comes with one, but they sell one that'll boost that 100 watts up to 500 watts. So in a pinch, yeah, let my truck run for an hour and I can feed 500 watts back into this thing. You know, for camping, I don't see it being an issue at all. You know, I plan on getting a 12 volt like little portable fridge for camping, and I'll start running some tests off of that, seeing how many cups of coffee I can make and how many smoothies I can blend off a single charge. Because camping, you know, if I can just use it on occasion, you know, for those items, I'm not looking to power a whole fridge. And if I can get a couple days use of some coffee and smoothies and whatever, you know, we'll run those tests then. I don't know. It's at the end of a long work day, so I'm starting to hopefully I'm still coherent. But yeah, so that's what I got. You know, your results are going to vary really based on your surroundings. You know, me being in a townhome, I'm extremely limited on where that solar panel can go. And with all the trees, see, there's the sun, but it's hidden behind trees. You know, if you have property and wide open fields, you know, your situation's different. But for me, this is what I got to work with. And right now, I'm sure my homeowners association loves that big old solar panel hanging out of a window. But that's the best spot. And you know, if my power goes out, that's exactly where it's going to be, right there. Because, you know, I'm not losing $300 worth of food because I lose power. Anyways, sorry this was long, but I hope it was informative. Again, you know, this is from your average consumer. I don't know a lot about these things, but I'm learning it. It's neat. It works. And as I learn more about it, and especially the solar side of things, I'll be able to utilize it even better. Just for anybody like me, doesn't know a lot, but you want to go and get one, keep your expectations realistic. The solar panels are finicky. You know, it's a 300 watt solar panel. I've yet to hit 200 watts with it. There you go. If you have any questions or any comments, please put them in the comment section below, because any feedback from people with experience on these things, you know, I'd love to hear from you. Yeah, as far as the app, Pecron, get your app working, because it's a massive benefit to be away from the house and to monitor what's going on and to turn things on and off to maximize the charge. But it only works when the app is working properly, and it worked properly for 2 days. And I don't know what the difference was today, other than it was a different day, but you know, it is what it is. So there you go. Pecron 3600. It works. Hopefully I can get it to work as efficiently as possible. Thank you very much. Have a good day.